Hello, hello, welcome. It's been a while to another episode of Anime Anonymous. I'm CJ,
And this is Ace.
joined by,
Jess.
and we had some technical difficulties for a hot minute there. So we're back though, we fixed it, we tinkered, and now we're here. So this week is about Alita. Alita Battle Angel, the live action movie that came out. Now, currently, I and Ace are the ones that have seen both the animated and the live action. Jess has only seen the live action, but and we'll get into it a little bit, but there's not really that many differences between the animated one and the live action. So, as we usually do, get through the rigmarole. If you guys want to get in touch with us, give us your own recommendations, thoughts, just want to flame us for some reason, I don't care, that's fine. X Anime Anonymous X on Instagram, X Anime Anonymous on Twitter.
Anime Anonymous on Audius.
And if you're old school and you want to shoot us an email, it's xanimeanonymousx@gmail.com. Now, quick reviews. Who wants to go first?
Force?
Hey, force, that might be a word. You never know.
You're going to force me to go first because that's what usually
That's
happens.
what it sounds like you're doing to yourself.
Well, I volunteered you.
Yes, you did. I'm like, ugh. Okay. Non-spoilery, I enjoyed the movie. The visualizations and the animations were very well done. Basically, you can tell the CGI, but like the CGI worked with the live action very well. You couldn't really see the clear difference. Had a great story, great action. I loved the characters, so yeah. That's my non-spoiler review.
Ace.
Alright. Well, guys, this is actually take 2. But now that I completely finished the live action and wasn't trying to finish it as we were podcasting at the same time, the live action and the animated both are great. The live action specifically, I think, was very, very beautiful, very vibrant, a lot of, popping, beautiful colors. The action scenes, everything was just executed flawlessly. You definitely feel like you're entrenched in the world or their world, which I definitely enjoyed a lot. And nothing spoilish.
Yes, no spoilers.
The only add-on that's technically not a spoiler would be they definitely flushed out a lot of the missing details or the skipped information in the live action rather than the animated version. So if you did watch the animated version, a lot of the questions you may have will definitely be answered and clarified in the live action. So, yeah, that's my review. How about you, CJ?
I really enjoyed this movie. I've seen it at least 3 times. Action in it is just top tier. The CGI is really good. There are a couple points where it kind of misses for me, but for the majority of it's really good. The world building is something I really liked. You're kind of thrown into it off rip. And I think it has a decent progression because I think it's right there in the good middle of not being super fast but not being too slow paced to kind of put a real world version of that. One movie that I did like that recently came out, Dune, a lot of people said that it was way too slow paced. Like the wife over here fell asleep. But I liked it.
It was a long movie.
It was a long movie. It was. But the world build, that was the whole point of the first movie, was to world build. And I think it did it well. unlike, and this might be a hot take for some people, unlike the Eternals, like I felt like that movie was just long and boring. Like I didn't really care about the world building.
Is Eternals the one with the kids?
No. The Eternals is the one with it's
That's
like
Marvel?
the DC
Oh, yeah,
superheroes. Like Angelina Jolie is Athena, who
Oh,
has like
okay,
dementia.
Yeah, I ain't
Um,
watch it.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just she and I watched it because it came on
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. So we're like, all right, we'll watch it. But like that one, I was just like, yeah, I don't really care about the world building, and I don't care about these characters.
So you don't recommend it?
Personally, no, I don't recommend it.
I'll take your word for it.
But yeah, so like I think it's kind of right there above Dune. Like I can see why people are like, Dune's kind of slow. So I think this was a decent mix of not too slow, but not too fast.
Yeah, I definitely like the pacing for the live action. The animated one, that one was very fast paced.
Yeah.
So to see, I like to call the animated version the summary. The summary animated portion of it definitely gave you what you needed. Had me a little bit more comfortable with the characters. So by the time I did watch the live action, I kind of knew exactly what was happening and what was the differences and how they executed some of the fight scenes to make it look amazing. So,
Yeah. So now we're kind of going to get into the spoilery territory, but kind of piggybacking off of that, it was really cool to see it in live action animated, what you saw in not only like drawn but also the animated movie, right? Like when she's fighting different people, you're like,
right.
I know that scene, and it's done really well, which is another thing, which is obviously the point of this podcast, is how we got into anime. Granted, I will say a lot of times manga is better, but you can't beat seeing some of those fights actually animated or those scenes animated. You're like, oh, this is what I was looking for. And then sometimes the creators just go on some weird freaking tangent, but you're just like, hey, that one part, you got me.
So you really like the manga better than the animation?
In certain things.
What would they be?
For one would be Bleach. Bleach, again, I go back to Bleach all the time. Bleach has so many fillers, even in the manga, but not nearly as much as in the anime. Anime, you had like freaking bootlegged vampire. Oh, bro, what the heck? Like, that made no sense. So starting off on Alita, it starts off, like I said, you're really thrown into the world. It's I always call it the Undercity, but it's called what? Iron City?
Yep.
Right? So you're kind of thrown into Iron City and you meet one of the main characters, Dr. Ito, Dyson Ito, if I remember correctly. He is basically going scrapyard digging, and he finds a cybernetic head. And at first, it looks like, he's just looking for scrap, but then kind of sees that, there's something there, like actually, functioning. And that's our first entry to Alita. She's a bodiless head.
Right.
Usually you say headless, but no, that's all she had was a head and then some wires coming out, really.
I guess partial upper body.
Yeah, I mean, there was, but majority of that is just big
Just
old
a head.
head. And she is a cyborg. Like, the only thing that's still basically human of her, and I use quotations of human, we'll get with that later, is her brain. Everything else, cybernetic. Like, that's it. And he takes her back and basically rebuilds her. I'm going to show my age. Have you ever heard of the $1 Million Man? See, that's an old freaking show. I used to watch it with my parents all the time. But like literally the thing was like the commercial was like, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. And it's like, it is basically like cyber humans back in the day. Like this is an old show. And like when he was doing superhuman stuff, they would just literally put the the picture in slow motion and have going by. Bro, it used to crack me up. But as a kid, that was cool.
I'm going to show you my age. The cyborg would be between Inspector Gadget and the Black Cyborg and Teen Titans. Those are the only...
And this is why I say I'm like, we may only have a year between us, but I'm old, okay? That's why I say that. Because I'm an old soul, man. But yeah, he rebuilds her. He puts her in this really nice body. It's very intricate. There's designs. There's a lot of thought put behind the craftsmanship, basically. And then before I go on, anything that like stuck out to you guys, and like we usually can, we
Yes.
always jump around. So.
Why was Hugo's body so much trash compared to the beginning of
Oh my
Alita's
lord,
body?
this guy! You just jump into the whole. Okay.
His body was trash.
This man just jumped
There is a
way
whole
to the end.
backstory to Alita's body.
Okay.
A
Anyway,
whole backstory.
ignoring him.
Right.
What do you have to say, Jess? Man just went
Everybody
from-
keep that in thought.
The man just went from A
To Z.
the Greek alphabet.
I was very intrigued with the body because going into scenes afterwards where you see these cyborgs that he actually works on a daily basis, you're like, he looks like he's got somebody's arm and another person's leg and red, green, blue, like the rainbow, basically.
And a lot of them look like construction-y.
Right. The body that he put on her was something like it was uniform. It was like the same arm, the same body, the same legs, the same feet. It was the same part, same color, everything. So it was like, okay, you built that. And it was very interesting.
Yeah, and it was ornate. Like there's so many like little carvings of like flowers and stuff in it. Like that was an expensive body. And to put arguably something, if you want to classify Alita that way, that you don't know into this body, like that's some faith.
Yeah, so why was he so inconsistent? Why he put so much love and effort into Alita instead of the other?
Well,
He must have saw something. I think it's the facial features because when you go see the flashback scene, his daughter looks very similar.
yeah,
to
she
Alita.
immediately
Very-
reminded.
That's what it was,
she
okay.
reminded
Very-
him
I forgot all about
of his daughter. So that's why he immediately put her in it. And was he trying to replace his daughter?
that. A little bit.
A little bit, right? He knows Alita's not her. But that is his
motivation.
Yeah, that's his motivation of trying to help her and stuff and teach her things. And when she wakes up, do you know your name? Like all this stuff. He's very fatherly to her just immediately.
Right. Which was a nice touch.
Yeah.
I enjoyed their relationship.
And her immediate like innocent curiousness was adorable. Her immediate love for anything that she had. She's like, oh, these are oranges or whatever. Like, oh, these are amazing.
And then the chocolate scene.
Yeah, and then later on when we meet Hugo, like they hang out. Hugo's another one of the main characters. Alita is obviously the main heroine or hero, but I would say probably in order, Dr. Ito and Hugo are probably very close as far as screen time to each other
Okay.
in the
I agree.
in the live action. In the anime, I want to say Hugo's not Hugo. Ito's not necessarily as prevalent.
Yeah, it is very heavily Hugo
Yeah.
and Alita.
Yeah, it's a lot more
Them two conquering,
While
the
Ito
Iron
is
City.
more, again, he's a more of a forefront in this one because they wanted to drive home that father-daughter relationship.
Right.
So she kind of hangs out with Hugo, and now this part is the one that I always forget if it happens before he met her or right after he met her. But the walker is going through like the big, for lack of a better word, guardian machine that's walking through, and then there's the dog, right? And she immediately goes and saves the
okay.
dog just instinctively.
Like a ninja.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, whoa,
Yeah,
this chick can't even remember basically what she ate yesterday because she'd been dead, technically. But this girl just immediately trying to throw hands, little bitty baby hands, with like this giant machine. And Hugo's like, yo, wait, whoa,
Yeah.
relax.
That was exciting. That was probably like the first instance of like she is definitely
Yeah, that
better
was like-
than what you would assume.
It was like slight foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It's like, there's like a transformer. There's more than meets the eye with this woman.
yeah, but that's sweep and spin move and all
Yeah.
that ninja movement.
Sitting
It
there
was impressive.
posing like Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was impressive. It was I think that was executed better than in the anime. For sure.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you have to put age on it, right? Like the anime came out so long ago. What, like I want to say like in the 90s.
But it was for a
even then, it
90s
was
anime.
good.
Yeah,
It was good.
it was
No,
solid.
it was. It was definitely good. But they've had years to
improve.
perfect,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then you just get a little bit of the stereotypical kind of love blossoming thing
yeah.
going on with Hugo, which you can't even.
He was confused. He was like, should I? Should I not? Should I?
Hey,
Well,
bruh.
it's a robot.
He's like-
What would you do if you met a cyborg?
They were all cyborgs.
Hugo-
Not him?
No, they had the girlfriend. Like you remember, what's the black guy's name? Tanji.
Yeah.
Their one other friend. Well, I mean, there were girls in the motorball scene, which is basically coming up very soon. There were different girls there, but they had that one friend that was like a girl in their group. Koyomi, that chick. She was one of their friends. So I mean, he didn't have to try and clap no robot cheeks. Like there were other girls.
Whoa. Time out. 30 seconds on this. He wasn't trying to clap nothing.
What?
Yes, he was.
Nah.
That was the adult jokes coming
He
in.
was catching feelings, but I don't think he was that committed.
It was the big ol' eyes. It was big ol'
Yeah,
eyes.
that's why
Yeah.
she's looking into my soul. I don't know if I love this or dislike this.
or maybe he knew that she could strike fear in his heart. And if he says the wrong thing, she's going to chop that head off.
Nah, he wasn't like that. He was coaching her on a lot of stuff, which, like you said, the chocolate thing, right? And then he gives her chocolate. She's like, "Oh my, this is amazing." She's like, "This is my new favorite."
I'm
And
like, this is a snack.
that was
Doesn't matter.
adorable. Like that was
Yeah.
so funny. That's like a kid. That's like okay, bringing it real world. As soon as I introduced gummies to our kiddo, that's all he wants, right? And then as soon as she introduced pancakes to him, that boy will eat pancakes breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He come in, pancakes? No. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. Go to sleep.
Hey, that's breakfast time
Eat.
somewhere.
Eat. Boy, go to bed. All right. Pancakes? Boy, I tell you, I'm about to kick you. Get out of here. And then he goes back to bed. Like, but that boy lives for pancakes.
Oh, man. I
But,
can wait for my little one.
hey, I love him to death, little demons. I'm just kidding. I say that all the time, but literally, he's a really chill kid. But yeah, so So, you kind of get that camaraderie between Hugo and Alita building up. And then you see a little bit of that fatherly part coming out of Ito. Like, hey,
Yeah, definitely.
you need to be home at such and such time. Like, I don't want you hanging out, blah, blah, blah. And at first, she's all for it. She's like, yeah, I understand. She's doing it. And then hangs out with, again, Hugo some more. He introduces her to Motorball. And Tanji just being a complete dickhead for no reason. Like, Hugo's like, yeah, take it easy on her, guys, blah, blah, blah. Tanji just straight up murks her. And he's like, oh, you gonna take after your robot girlfriend? And he's like, oh, she's not my girlfriend. And then being the G that she is.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, are you okay? She's like, no, I got this. Gets up, learns very quickly, and rocks Tanji.
Oh yeah, he feels that. That hurt. She
That's
dropped
full-blown
him.
metal.
Yeah, like
Metal.
Yeah, I don't care how flowery that body is. That's heavy.
yeah. I was like, sir, do you know she is all metal? Why are you starting this fight? I would see if it was like a normal person where you can bump him and his flesh you hitting, but I'm like, you're hitting a truck right now.
Yeah, I don't think she was definitely made out of more refined, softer stuff just for the intricacy of the body. But at the end of the day, that's not flesh and bone.
Yeah,
Like,
it still looked like it hurt.
you need to relax.
Especially when she still was able to hit you with her skates
Yeah.
and drop you.
Yeah,
I'm
basically look at you, like don't do that, and then go score.
That was actually a badass moment. I approve.
Yep. And it's in those moments of conflict you see her learn exponentially, right? Should the childish wonder and goofiness goes away, and you're like, okay, I can maybe see the battle side of her. Like
starts learning
she shows up
and adapting
Yep.
and evolving. Her growth is very enjoyable to see. I think that was definitely
and that's what I'm saying. Like
a part of the story. What is it called? The world building. I don't know why I was about to say story building.
I mean, it could be both technically, because her growth is story. You get world building through her growth.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was trying to say.
there's different times where the world has an impact on her growth, right? So that's a simple one that we get, and then another one that we get a bigger growth on is. And you don't really know how much passage of time is happening, but it seems like there's some decent amount of time going through, not months or anything, but I think maybe like weeks here and there. But the next kind of shine that you get with her on growth is there's like this news going around that there's like a serial killer or whatever murderer going on hunting women at night, right? So she is, a curious person. She notices Ito coming home late at different times. And if I remember correctly, he's like walking kind of labored. She notices that he has like this big like briefcase with him. She's like, what the heck's going on here? Especially because he's always strict. You need to be home and blah, 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 right? So then she follows him out one day because you get that struggle between her, right? Like, this is my father figure. He basically raised me from the dead. So she has loyalty to him. But then what you've been seeing in her is that justice warrior side, right? You're seeing it different times. She saved the dog, like she was ready to throw hands. Like you see Tanji, she's like, let me put you in your place, right? And so she follows him, and turns out he is actually baited into a trap by some cyborg hoodlums.
They weren't warrior hunters?
No. He's a warrior hunter.
Okay.
Which you find out at this time. Warrior hunters are basically bounty hunters. That's at the end of the day, that's all they are. These were just straight up hoodlums. Like they out there to cause issues, and they were the one that he thought he was protecting because he thought it was a woman, was this bladed up looking cyborg woman who's the actual one killing the women. Because, like, she's like jealous of how they look. Well, why did you sit here and turn yourself into a Beyblade? Like, nobody told you to do that except you. The only thing she's got is basically a face. That's it.
Hey, she looked deadly.
Yeah.
So that was the scariest Beyblade.
She didn't even have hands.
Right? Cyborgs eat?
Hey, bro, I don't know. I'm just asking.
I mean, Alita ate an orange and chocolate, so somehow they have some.
But she did spit it out. That orange.
She spit out the rind. She ate the rest of it.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they like turn it into like biofuel or something.
Yeah, it must get burned.
Technical.
Yeah, it almost like this is the future or something. That's crazy.
Off topic. But y'all think they're real?
I mean,
like AI people.
I don't see why not. I mean, there's just like the military. The military only shows you stuff that they've had for years, right? But they act like it's a future weapon. Because I have friends that are in like the different branches, and like when the corner shot came out, right? They're like, we had that for years. By the time we showed it to the world, we had already been past that. So the fact that we have human-like robots being built now, I love the anime that you produced, Japan. But God, there's some horny mofos over there. They got like these robot strippers.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. Come on. That's Anyway,
because I was also curious about that stem cell research, where they're able to like create limbs.
Yeah,
like,
that's a touchy subject. We can talk about that off the podcast. That's a touchy subject.
If they Stem can cells do this,
is a touchy one.
Well, the technology part.
No, I got it. Yeah.
I really think like if they can make that, I'm like, nah, they can make a whole body.
No, there's a lot of stuff that they can do that we don't know about. But but jumping back to Miss Let It Rip, she's going at Ito. Ito pops out looking like a bootlegged Thor and has like this giant pick hammer looking thing with a booster on the back of it.
Reminded me of Jace from Arcane.
Yeah. Except Jason's was just better.
Yeah, Jason's way better, but he's an old man. So.
It's very similar, yeah. And so he starts fighting them, and the only one that I honestly remember, because he's the only one that matters, is Grishka, right? He's a big robot-looking one. And yeah, and he's there kind of governing over them. And Alita, she's seeing what's going on, and she has basically a flashback. And I know last time we recorded this, you were really good with kind of like the flashbacks and stuff. So what do you want to say about that?
So it seems like her flashbacks are triggered whenever she's in a situation where it's fight or flight kind of. Isn't that the slogan?
Fight or flight, yeah. But for her, there's no flight.
Yeah, it's always fight.
Right. that thing. Anywho.
That damn thing there, that fight or fight.
Yeah, fight or fight.
That damn thing. Anywho, she notices a situation where Ito is in trouble. So it brings back a flashback of her, I believe it's her on the moon?
Yes. Yep.
It's her on the moon, and she's fighting in a war, it looks like a space war. And you kind of start getting the first glimpse of what she is and what she was.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, she turns into the exact person in her flashback, some crazy ninja assassin, and destroys this poor Let It Rip woman. I mean, head in the wall, and all of a sudden the body just goes ploop onto the floor.
Like a spider.
Beautiful. It was beautiful.
It was great. And so, then Grishka was, Dr. Ito's looking at her like, oh, okay. And then Grishka's like, okay, I guess I gotta get up and do this fight since you people are worthless.
Yeah, that cockiness, bro.
It's
You
like,
got work
little
too.
flea.
Yeah, little flea.
But yeah, and she demolishes the rest of them. Like,
Yeah, and the one scene that's really highlighted from the anime into the live action is the basically like the jumping axe kick that she does
yeah.
straight through Grishka's arm. Like just takes it off. And you know that's when he realized she was all about the smoke. Like,
Right.
He was like, I am not the fighter here. Like, I gotta get out. So he runs like a little girl, but talking smack like villains do.
I'll be back.
Yeah, and runs away. Right. Which it's not a it's not a huge part. But when you find out where he ran away to, Vector and Chirin, which we didn't even talk about, but
Right.
Chirin, just long story short, Chirin is Ito's ex-wife, and she noticed Alita immediately by
the body.
And the reason she noticed it is because what you found out is the body that Ito put her in is the body he had made for their daughter, because she had this illness and
Was paralyzed from the waist down.
yeah, and so he wanted her to basically walk and do everything, but then the whole reasoning for him being a hunter warrior was his daughter unfortunately was killed by wasn't like one of his ex-patients or something.
Yeah, his ex-patient came in from a motorball tournament because he was a motorball tuner
Yeah, that's what it
at
was.
the time, and he came looking for drugs because he was in pain.
Yep.
And unfortunately, his daughter was there at the wrong time.
Yeah. So his ex Chirin, she works at the motorball thing, and she's trying to bring him in. She's like, hey, like you're a great doctor and basically mechanic. She's like, we could use you, and he's like, no, I'm not doing that again. And she kind of throws shade at him, for working on these deadbeats and like doing all these free treatments and all
It's
that.
not free. He gets fruit.
Yeah, he gets fruit. Yeah, that's true.
It's not
good
free.
old tangerines. But he's like, like I'm not gonna do it, and he's trying to give her a reality check. He's like, you should get out of there too. She's like, I'm gonna do anything to get back to Zalem, which is. It's not a floating city. It's basically like the city in the sky above Iron City that's connected to like a space elevator. And that's like where the rich live and all this stuff. And apparently Ito and Chirin used to live there. I don't remember if they really tell you why they got kicked out, but they got kicked out. And she wants to get back up there. But the thing is, that thing that's said throughout the whole movie is nobody gets back up to Zalem. Once you get kicked out, that's it. But she's like, I'm going to work my way back up. So, anyway, like, you find out that Chirin is basically Ito for the bad people. Not only is she working with like the motorball side, but the guy who runs the motorball, Vector, he is the one who's over Grishka. And the whole reason I was thinking about this is because that scene is so funny to me. Because when they're repairing Grishka, they take his head out, and he looks like a little maggot.
Yeah.
Because all he is a head, and then this spine is like flipping around like a bug. I was like, ugh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, that was nasty. And they tried to act like that was normal. I'm like, I haven't seen this at all the entire movie.
Yeah, and then, but then that's when you meet Nova.
Nova, yes.
Yeah.
Well, but you don't know it's Nova at this scene.
Nope.
You just know Victor's eyes turn into a very pretty blue.
Vector.
Oh my goodness, we're starting with
Here's the character list.
It says Victor.
No, it doesn't.
Oh my goodness, where is he? Okay. It is V-I...
No, it's
no.
not. No, hold on. Here's what I do in our relationship: solve problems. So look at this. Look at that right there. What'd that be?
Hey, man, I'm a woman. I have selective hearing and seeing, so it's okay. And memory. So,
I feel like she just shitted on
Anyway, what about the blue?
that was harsh.
What about the blue eyes? All right, pull it together, guys. What are you doing? We're professionals.
Can you?
All right. All right. Anyway, here with a bunch of children, we meet Nova, but like Jess was saying, you don't know it's Nova at first. You just think Vector is having an identity crisis because his voice changes and he starts addressing Chirin differently. And then she noticed, she's like, Nova. And yeah, what basically happened is he hacked into Vector. So obviously Vector has some tech in his brain or eyes or something. And he starts talking to Chirin about, sweet talking her, saying, yeah, I'm in Zalem right now. You do what you need to, and you can come back up. And obviously Vector doesn't know that Nova can do this because after it happens, it's like he's blacked out because he didn't know what happened.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, he comes back and he's like confused.
Well, he goes into like a full-blown like awakening from a blackout. Like he's like totally confused. Don't remember the last 30 seconds of any conversation.
Yep.
So Chirin's kind of there to help him recover from those instances because it does take a toll on him. You can see that.
Yeah.
But
So
anywho.
And is Nova able to hack into anybody? Because he was saying that he can see all.
I don't know. I'm not
That
sure.
wasn't really explained in the
The
movie.
only one you see him do all the time is Vector.
Right.
So I don't know.
Okay.
But he's obviously patched into different places. But basically when this is going on, you kind of go back to Alita and Ito, and Alita's like, you know who I am or what I am. Why aren't you telling me? And he was like, nope, I'm not telling you. This is for your own good. Blah, blah, blah. You need to... and I think you'd mentioned it, if not this time, last time, clean slate. You can start over, have a relaxing life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And she calls him out. She's like, I'm not your daughter. She's like, you need to basically, stop treating me like one. And she had a little temper tantrum.
Yeah.
And with that little pretty childish body, basically breaks a table. Not really, but she does some damage. And he looks, and he's like, oh, good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to respect that, she can handle her own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to baby her.
No.
Yep. So what does she do? She ages up into a rebellious teenager.
In 2 seconds.
Yeah, and she decides to go show that she can handle herself and also become a hunter warrior.
I thought this happened after she found the body.
Oh well, yeah, she did. It did. I was gonna talk about that later, but yeah. Because I jump around all the time.
I know.
But yeah, go ahead.
But
We'll go in order.
Found what?
The
body?
body.
The other body.
Oh,
Her body.
Underwater.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The upgrade. The upgrade.
But
Yeah.
very short, very, very short.
Yeah, it's
Basically,
like a side
Hugo,
scene.
Tanji, and what's the chick's name?
Kayomi?
Payomi. Invite Alita to it's basically the world outside of Iron City. And if you are a Divergent fan, that's kind of where you'll see that world be very similar. But they go out and they're finding this ship, and it's a Urn ship.
Yeah.
Erm ship. And you can tell another part of Alita. It kind of puts more puzzle pieces together as to who she is. She sees the ship and she goes, "Take me to the cockpit or
bridge, something like that."
Yeah.
And Tanji's like, nobody even knows. Like that's
That's
old
in there.
technology. Like nobody can even get into those.
Right. It's like the only way we can get in there is by swimming, and like we can't hold our breath that long. And she's like, "Well,
I could.
Yeah,
well, she doesn't say it, but she's like,
Yeah,
I
she
got
just
a robot."
drops down. Yeah.
And she just goes into the water, and she just goes in, and she gets inside of the ship, and all of a sudden her memory just comes to life, and she knows how to unlock codes, turn on the ship inside, and basically this like wall comes down, and you see this beautiful
like
purple gray
body,
cyborg body.
yeah.
And she has a very strong connection to it. So she takes it and she basically comes out of the water with it, and all the friends and Hugo are like,
What
Yo.
the heck?
"What is that?"
Yep.
So then she takes it to Dr. Ito, and Ito does his analysis and like, "This is technology, never seen it before. Like this is some really crazy
It's like
stuff."
precursor or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like over 300 something years old.
Right.
Because that's when the war happened.
Right. Like, I'm not familiar with this. So she's like, "I want to be in this body. Like, I need to be in this body." And that's when
They
really
have the
throws
the-
a tantrum.
Yeah, the fight, and she's like, you know what I am, blah 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 blah, and he actually tells her what the body is. Like she was like, "You know more about this," and he says that's a berserker body, from the Berserker, and she's like, she has a connection. He's like, "No, I'm not putting you in that body. Fresh slate, yada yada yada." So then, she goes with Hugo to the place to become a hunter warrior. Gets it. Is all proud of it. Shows it to him in his, and then they go to arguably my favorite
The bar scene.
scene / area, because she goes there and you see him again, one of the hunter warriors named Zapan, who he's like the best one. He's all mech except for his face, which he's super prideful of, and he had already kind of messed with her before because he's very cocky and arrogant, and then you find out vindictive and jealous. But she goes there, and she, again, righteous justice. She's like, "Oh, we need to take down the evils like Gruishka. Like, which one of you will stand with me?" And all of them look at her like, "What are you smoking?" And so Zapan, being the idiot that he is, he's like, "Oh, wow, rousing speech. Like, that was great. Nobody cares." So he goes at her. She notices his sword that he always is has around with him. He tells her, he's like, "Oh yeah, I found this at blah blah blah, and like it's the top sword," like just basically gassing it up. And she was like, "Yeah, he's basically that. It's too good for him."
Right.
And he kind of gets mad at her.
Everyone starts laughing at him.
Yeah, and he grabs her by the throat, and my girl basically breaks his arm, grabs him, and just slams his face into like a table, and then kicks him against a wall, and then kicks the blade at his face, and is like, "You are not worthy."
Right.
And I was like, "Yo!" And then he goes, "My nose." I think she broke my nose. And he's having a panic attack because his face is all he cares about.
No, that was boss. The
Yep.
whole scene, just the combat, the martial arts.
Yeah, because then she goes one step further. She starts just dissing all of them.
Right.
And
Like, you all can get it. Who wants to smoke?
and then she just starts a brawl, and she is wrecking them, and it is beautiful.
Just like a bento box.
Yep. And then like somebody's about to hit her with a chair, and Hugo like stops them, and she's like, "Oh, thank you," and she's having so much fun. And then, long story short, what happens? Hugo realizes or not Hugo. Ito has realized what's going on. He shows up to the bar. he's trying to tell people, stop, they're not listening. And then so he just yells. He's like, y'all don't stop. No more free repairs. And everybody's like, oh. And they all just stop.
We need those.
And he sees Alita, and Alita just like turns and looks down because she's like slightly ashamed, but she's still like being, a rebel.
Didn't she still like hit or break one more thing before?
I think she like punches somebody in the face. Yeah. And then she like looks around. She's like, not me.
Just had to finish.
I was defending myself. I don't know what you're talking about. So like he goes there, and then Grishka upgraded
back, yep.
Grishka with this like fist that has like chain fingers, basically, for lack of a better word. Comes
almost like a Kurapika from Hunter x Hunter.
Oh yeah. Kurapika?
What I say?
Kurapika. I was like, what? Is that a cockroach?
I can't remember. Them Japanese names are hard, man.
Yo, shout out, and this is a side tangent, but shout out to Kurapika. He the only one that came to a fight with a shovel. Like, he was ready to bury his opponent, bro.
That was
balls.
Yeah, that was definitely ballsy. I was like,
he beats him and he just starts digging a
he
hole.
really dug this man a grave.
That man's OD.
I'm glad Hunter x Hunter's coming back, actually.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. That is gonna be
cool. Back to Alita.
But anyway, fast forwarding, Grishka does his thing, taunts her again. She has no flight, so she's all about the smoke. She goes down into the tunnels, which is kind of his like area. Starts trying to fight him. Well, she's starting to realize the limits of her body, right? It's not meant for all this stuff. So she's fighting him. She's, kind of working him. But he uses his new weapon to start beating.
Does he cut her arm off?
He starts slowly like dismantling her. And then there's one where she has this vision again where she like does like this lunging kind of punch thing. Right? And it comes back and she starts doing it. And she's going through his fingers. Well, he just brings them together and slices her whole body up.
Yeah. The only thing left is her chest, an arm, half of an arm, and her head.
Yeah, and her head.
And then she uses that one
Yeah,
arm.
and what does she do? She acts like she's running away to like get him to put his guard down. And he's talking blah blah blah, little flea, yeah. And what does she do? She's like, oh, all right, his guard's down. Girl does a pop-up somersault and punches him in his face and basically breaks off her arm like a Kit Kat into his eye.
Yeah.
So he's all discombobulated and he's pissed and all this stuff. And I swear, if people didn't show up, she'd probably try and fight him with her mouth. Like, she'd probably just bite him. Like,
whatever she
like
could.
a rabid dog.
I really like her grit.
Yeah, she was about it.
Determination, yeah.
She was about it. But Ito shows up and the dog master.
Yeah, the dog master.
And
man, I was so disappointed in the dog master.
Hey, bro, you leave him alone. An old man. All he got is robot dogs. Okay.
They need to be like Cerberus robot dogs. I'm like, y'all need to be tearing stuff up right now.
But Ito takes her home, and now she basically gets her wish without realizing it. And so he starts integrating her with the body, and it's a very cool scene of the body basically matching the owners without them knowing, because obviously she doesn't really know how old she is, but it matches their age profile in their mind, but also the peak combat body as well, right? And so they realize she's a lot older than they think. Literally, she's over 300,
right.
But physically as well, because she was in a very childish body, which she didn't really look that bad in. But you see her in the body, she's mid-20s at least. right? Like she's
And that nanobite technology, it's probably not nanobite technology, but the
probably
technology,
was, yeah.
the way they made the graphics and it started morphing and
Yeah,
adapting
converting.
to it, I was like,
Oh, what did he give her, Jess, that you were so happy about last time we recorded this?
Boobies.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Gave her robot tits.
What?
But she.
Until you said it last time, I didn't even realize that.
Like, I don't care about no robot titties.
But that's why you have to have that woman's touch sometimes.
I guess.
To point out those instances.
But yeah, but then she looks a lot more comfortable in this body, integrated really well. When Ito wakes up, she's already kind of flexing and doing all these things, and she like shows him like she has like this little flamethrower thing out of her finger, and he tells her what it is. It's like the excess kind of energy being put out, which that also fuels her on different things, because her heart basically could power a city for forever. Basically, like the technology is ridiculous. And this is flashback to why I said everything about her except for her brain is not human, quote unquote, because she is actually from Mars. She is a berserker for the United something of Mars. That's what ERM is. And they were fighting. You find out later on, she gets more and more flashbacks of what happened and like how she lost her body and her crew and everything, like her platoon. She also, shows Hugo her new body, all this stuff. He's like, "Do you like it?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's been telling her his dream is going to Zalem, and Vector was telling if he does more jobs, then he can get more money. So what does she decide to do? Because she's all about everybody but herself. She's like, well, we can get money, and she even offers him her heart, which is literally priceless.
Right. I'm like, that could pay for the whole
lot
family.
of things. Yeah. But so she decides to enter Motorball, right? Because that gives you a lot of money. Well, there's basically Vector / I want to say maybe Nova through Vector, but I don't know. It's Vector. Basically put a hit out on her in the with the Motorball competitors. They're like, yo, you kill her, you get some money and free upgrades and all this stuff. So right when she lines up, she has like a funny thing because it's just a game. And you had said that last time we did, she's like, hey, take it easy on me, guys. And then Ito finally like patches into her and he's like, hey, yo, you need to be careful. They're trying to kill you. She's like, all right, who? He's like, all of them. And then she looks around and she notices like their faces.
All hunters,
she's like, all right, cool. And she gets that kind of warrior look on, and this is another really good sequence. Like, it's all CGI'd, but like her skating around, giving them the work, kicking the ball at them, doing all this stuff.
Ripping them apart, breaking everything. I was like, executed amazing. It kind of reminded me of, did you see Speed Racer?
Yeah, I love Speed Racer.
That CGI
People
they
hate
had,
it, but I really like it.
Yeah, that Speed Racer CGI with the speed and the graphics, I was like, yep, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, don't have epilepsy and watch that, but decent movie.
Yeah.
But while this is going on, Hugo ran into Zapan because he's vindictive and he realizes he can't really go against Alita. So what he's gonna do? Pick on the small guy.
Yeah.
So he kills. What's his name? Tanji.
Yep.
Tanji and
Cut him right in half.
Yeah, and frames Hugo for it. Hugo somehow patches into Alita's helmet just like Ito did, and he's like, "Hey, I'm in trouble. I need help." And then she's like, "Where are you?" And he kind of tells her, "Well, girl, they go off the reservation. Like she just gets off the track, and all the contestants are following her, trying to kill her, and they're just doing some I don't know, motorball parkour. She eventually loses him, gets to where Hugo is. Zapan's there. He's like, oh, well, you know, you're a hunter warrior. There's a bounty on this guy. You know, what are you going to do? And because he knows she loves her. And then I think you remember this part better than me. Like what he does. I know he stabs him.
Yeah. He's just like, well, if you're not going to do it, I'll make it easier on you, and just go.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And then stabs him. But then she runs off with him into the church. And, you know, she's there crying because he's basically dying. Because, you know, you got stabbed as a human, you're going to die. If you get stabbed as a cyborg, you could probably get put back together, most likely.
Yeah, you know, just...
But that's when Chirin comes out of the freaking corner.
Yeah, like Batman.
Yeah,
She's
that was
in the
weird.
shadows.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I'm like, because in the animation, when Chirin arrives, it made sense because you saw her tracking her the whole time. She comes right out behind the wall, just watching. And I'm like, we didn't even see that they were tracking or anything like that.
No.
And you probably,
I think it's implied, but yeah, no, it was weird.
Yeah.
Like, she just come out the cut.
and then she's just eavesdropping. She's not even.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but go ahead, Jen. My bad.
No, you're fine. So basically she comes in, she sees Alita, and that's kind of more where you see her become more of the good side because her mom instincts come out because she's starting to really connect with Alita as her daughter, and like, you know, she didn't have that relationship with her daughter of any boys or anything and falling in love and all that. So what does she do is some really freaky stuff.
Yeah.
Really freaky stuff. Poor Hugo gets his head chopped off, and the life support is Alita's heart. And Alita comes walking out with this jacket over, holding Hugo's head to confirm the bounty. And you're like, oh snap, Jiren really killed him. Like, what the heck? But then Zapan,
whatever.
okay, I thought you were going to make fun of me for that one.
No,
But
just
At least it was close enough.
sees that,
At least you didn't call him Zeppelin.
you know, it's actually, she's keeping his head alive to keep his brain alive.
Yeah.
But according to Hunter Warrior rules, that's not a good thing. So
Yeah,
basically,
that's her bounty.
right, it's him attempting to steal her bounty, and that's like a no-no. So then there's now a ability that she can now kill him. But she don't kill him. She takes the one thing that's most important to this guy. She slices his face off.
Yeah, she takes the sword,
And
slices his face, and my man has an existential crisis.
with half a tongue.
Yeah. That was weird. But then she gets the sword back, and
she keeps that thing.
yeah, she keeps it because that's technology.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually integrates with her really well. And I can't remember if you see it then or you see it later, but Ito had kind of said it like that those weapons, they integrate, and the flame, the little fire, that can pass into their weapons to kind of boost them as well. So she takes that, and that kind of becomes part of her kit now. And we kind of fast forward Hugo. They put him in a cybernetic body, which now being how long are we in? Almost an hour in. Now
Looks like trash.
we can go back to your 2-minute question. Yeah, his cybernetic body looks ridiculous. It looked like they got it out of the junk, right? Like
they literally found his pieces in 5 minutes on a scavenger hunt and put him together.
yeah, there no thought process.
And I'm just like, how can Alita's first body look way, way better than Hugo's?
Well, you know, they didn't. Ito didn't have a son. He had a daughter. If he had a son, she would have had some Roblox body too.
Man,
He looked like he was in Minecraft.
literally, he literally looked like he was in Minecraft, and I was very disappointed. And I'm like, this Ito, you're supposed to be the best of the best.
And yeah, but he can only work with what he's got. So I mean, they're in the Iron City, and there's not a lot of good stuff. Like we said before, like a lot of these people, they look, like their bodies look very construction worker-y.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of where I lost a lot of love for Hugo. Not that I loved him to begin with, but he was a decent character. But then, like, as soon as he becomes a cyborg, he's all woe is me, like this life sucks. But then I was like, where did the Hugo before, like gassing up Alita and she's a cyborg and everything's good. But as soon as you're very hypocritical. As soon as you become a cyborg, oh man. And then what does he do? He just becomes even more annoying. Because then you take your eyes off of him for a couple minutes and man starts trying to walk up to Zalem, up the pipeline. And Alita has another vision and realizes that that's how she lost her body and her crew. Nova sent these like
spinning
blades down that would kind of cut you, and he sends one down, and she tries to tell Hugo to jump. He doesn't jump fast enough, kind of gets cut up, not fully cut up, but cut, and he's about to fall. She catches him, and instead of being like, you know what, yeah, I can get rebuilt, he's like, oh, let me go, blah. Like,
well, he was already falling apart.
He's such a sissy. I can't stand it. You know what? All you need is your head. All right? He could have gotten upgraded. All right? His girl is a motorball chick. She could have got money and built him up. All right? He could have looked like Mega Man.
True.
Instead of Minecraft Steve.
That's actually who I wanted him to look like.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
He was disappointing.
Yeah, so he was disappointing. But yeah. But then then she goes, and takes kind of revenge on Vector. Mm-hmm. Fights Grishka, beats him. Yeah, that's a wash. Yeah, and then Nova takes over Vector. He's talking to her and talking a little bit about their past. And then he kind of mentions Chirin. And then he opens up this container or this vault or whatever, and you see like some eyes and like a brain, and he was like, yeah, there's just a little bit left of her. And she was like, that's Chirin? He was like, yeah, nobody goes back up to Zalem except one way, and that's it. So that's the only way she was ever getting back up anyway, was as body parts. So then she kills Vector while he's still Nova, and like Nova has like this weird like kind of like I'm dying like kind of thing because
this is fatal
because it's not his body.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is fatal. He just starts falling down, and it's like it's kind of funny.
It is funny. No, it's really funny.
And then he's like, I'll see you soon, basically, and then he gets out the body, and Vector just slumped, just dead. And then we basically get to the end of the movie, where Alita's kind of
back at the motor.
Yeah, she's gearing up for Motorball. She's got custom stuff. She's got her blade kind of that goes into her arm. And she's basically like the running leader, and she's about to do like the champion run, which the champion gets a ride up to Zalem, but Vector had always been screwing it up for the winners, like by getting Hugo and his crew to strip them of parts. She comes out and she has the 99 on her face, which I think that was her unit number, and she comes up and there's like light shining down, takes the sword out
Points
and
right
points
at
it straight up to the sky, and it kind of shows you up there, and you see Nova
with this
looking
little
down,
microscope.
like with these like binocular eye looking things, and he just kind of smirks, and it ends. And I was like,
You needed
ended on
to.
the cliffhanger, man.
I hate it, but it was definitely something.
Yeah, it was solid, and I was like, man, I really want them to bring a season 2, bring a second movie, because it would be so good, man.
Just to get some clarification, some.
Yeah, just some finishing, because I like just off of the martial arts alone, this movie is just great.
Yeah.
The martial arts she uses, it's like I think they call it Panzer Crust or Panzer Faust. It's a martial art specifically for berserkers. And obviously there's really nobody who knows it, because as we know, as of now that we know, are basically extinct. Like there's none of them. She's the last of her kind. So, but yeah, that's how it ends. And I loved it. It's like a bittersweet ending for me, because like it's a really nice hype kind of ending. And then when it ended, I was like, no.
Yeah, I was like, I could at least just added another 30 minutes. I wanted to see what Zalem looks like something.
Yeah, but yeah, that's how it ended.
So you ready for your review?
Which means it's time for a rating. So you went first, which means you are allowed to pick who goes first, or you can go first again if you want to. So what are you doing?
Ace can go first.
All right. I volunteered it first, so. So the rating, I would say the rating would have to be an 8 for me. It would have been higher if the scene with, why am I drawing a blank on the guy?
Hugo?
Woo, long day. But yeah, it would have been definitely a higher rating if Hugo was more of a entertaining character towards the end once he turned into a cyborg. That really like threw me off. His whole personality, the way his character was built up, and then he turns into that at the end. It's kind of like, where did that even come from? Like, that's not even your personality that we grew to enjoy for most of the movie. So other than that, solid movie. Everything from the action was beautiful, the scenery, the environment, the relationship building. It was a solid movie. Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. CJ?
I originally, like, mine's not changing. I said originally when we tried to record this, that this was an 8, but a very, for whatever that means, a very strong 8. At the end of the day, it's still an 8. And the reason is the negatives first. Again, the negative, my biggest negative is exactly what Ace said. The hypocritical, complete change in Hugo. Hugo's kind of built up to be this
Badass. Like,
no, I don't know
like,
about badass,
like
but
cool
he's a very positive kid, outlook, silver lining kid who, yes, has a little bit of that, ends justify the means kind of bad streak with what he was doing for Vector, but he was still a decent character.
Right.
And then as soon as some stuff happens, he just turns into this negative, very selfish character. And I'm like, man, I can't vibe with you. And then there was a couple, different parts where, like I said, the CGI kind of pulled me out. And again, it was really around his body and him. That's really where the CGI kind of broke for me. But the positives definitely outweigh it. I mean, Alita, the way her actress portrayed her, because they did a lot of motion cap for her. The way her actress portrayed her was really good. her growth from, for lack of a better word, dumb child to badass warrior was really good. The foreshadowing and little scenes of that badass coming out were really good. And I think the relationship between she and Ito was really good too. There was a little bit of ups and downs, but it was a good relationship. And then, that was the other little negative. The immediate just switch in Chirin. I was like, all right,
with the
come on
helping
now.
with the body.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. All right, so you just pop out the shadows like a ghost, and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm good now.
So in the anime, Chirin was portrayed, and her character change was very well done. It was actually heartfelt, executed very well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things. Well, there's not a lot of things to scale. There are small things changed, but Motorball was not a huge thing in the anime, right?
Right.
But in this, it is, and it plays a lot more of an impact to it. Like we said before, Ito and her relationship is not really a forefront in the anime, but in this, it is. So, I mean, there's good parts about both of them, but both of them are good good watches. But yeah, I mean, I've recommended this to a lot of people. I'm always happy to watch it again. So that's why I say it's a strong 8, because there are some 8s that I rank that I do enjoy and I do recommend, but I'm like, I don't really want to watch it right now. Right. This, I'm always down to watch this movie. I really, really enjoy this movie. So yeah, that's mine. What about you, Miss Jess?
Sorry. I'm also an 8.
So professional. I should have cleared my throat.
I'm also an 8, particularly for the same reasons. The animation was good. I didn't really like how the animation kind of lacked towards the end with Hugo. I don't know if it was more so the real body and the drawing, or they gave it to an intern. I have no idea. But it didn't blend well like the other characters did, like Sapan. It was very, it looked like it was right. Like Grishka, it was his body. He just had a human face. But Hugo, it was like you had the human head, and then there was green screen everywhere else, and then they copied and pasted the cyborg body onto him.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's some lazy stuff. You busted your butt this whole movie, and then that went away.
Somebody just went to Photoshop for the last
I'm saying it went to an intern. But that's probably the big negative that brings it really down. I enjoyed the movie. I love watching it. Watched it multiple times with friends. Of course, with CJ. I mean, I live with him, so it happens.
Yeah.
And I really hope for a 2, but there really isn't much talk. I was looking while the boys were talking. Basically, it may happen on Disney Plus, but this article came back in 2020. There really hasn't been anything published in 2021 or 2022. I think with all of Marvel and DC coming out with their stuff, I think this is probably going to get put on the back burner because of it didn't perform well in the movie theaters.
Yeah,
but it did really well online.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of debate about it. So
I just think it came out at the wrong time.
Right.
If it came out a little bit later, I think it would have been really well received.
But
yeah.
It's a May. It's a May. It'll happen. I mean, I don't like how it ended so openly, but
you sound like Jack.
But if it didn't have a season 2, I think the way it did end, if I didn't watch it the first time, now understanding that there's not going to be a season 2, I'm not going to be as disappointed because the way it ended was a pretty strong ending, but it was pretty open-ended. I was like, I want her to go beat up Nova just like she did with everybody else.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, anywho.
8s across the board.
Yeah.
Look at that. I think that's the first time we've all actually agreed on one.
Was that my same rating?
No, last week you gave it a 10. But you hadn't finished the live action.
Well, I think I gave it a 10 because it just answered so many more questions.
Yeah, no,
Right.
and you at that time you hadn't gotten
Right.
to Hugo.
Oh yeah, that part too. Yeah.
I mean, which I said, hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then Hugo really brings it down, and it's annoying that such a small part of the movie really, for us, obviously, everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but for all of us, that small, it's not even half an hour of the movie, really brings it down.
Yeah, and I think because it was so like I think as reviewers we know that should have been a more important scene,
Yeah.
and it just left you or left me just unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Lack
Yep.
of a better word.
Yep. Well, if you have stayed with us, props to you.
We appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, all of our ones always are longer when we have Jess because we all talk a little bit more. So it's a good like kind of bouncing around. But
Yeah, any of the ones that are over an hour, I'm in it. So if
Yup.
you enjoy me, watch those or listen to those.
I was
I'm
about
sorry.
to say, wow, that's crazy. Watch them. But thank you for joining us. Next week is going to be season 1 of 86, and then the week after that, Jess will definitely be back on again because we're going to be
Woohoo.
doing Golden Time. But again, you guys have any recommendations? Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, email.
All this.
And until then, I'm CJ,
This is Ace.
I'm Jess.
and we will catch you next AA meeting.